Hello, everybody. Today's February 7th, and we're doing business and social stories for your hump day.
Gird your loins.
Yeah.
Because
This is
coming up,
we could almost rapid fire this.
we will. It's a lot of bad news. And the stories aren't that much different.
Okta to lay off 7% of staff, about 400 employees. Remember that they're largely responsible for a lot of the security suffering that we find ourselves in this modern world.
And here's one that affects a lot of people.
PayPal, they're cutting 2,500 jobs as rivals snag market share. Well, that's no surprise there.
Or maybe just people aren't spending money
Yeah.
because they're broke. And they are certainly not buying as many Amazon packages, right? Or at least maybe Amazon has just finally been able to cut these guys completely out.
UPS is cutting 12,000 jobs after a quote-unquote disappointing year. Yes, some of the friends of the Links with Friends have reported that they have never seen a Christmas holiday in recent memory that was that lack of packages.
A lot of my family, they usually do the Black Friday thing. I don't think anyone went this year.
And it seems that people are even losing their remote jobs.
Zoom is cutting about 150 jobs, or close to 2% of its workforce. Yeah, but also, how many people does it really take to maintain Zoom's infrastructure? I mean, come on.
If you want to escape all this madness, maybe do some gaming, you're going to have one less choice.
Bracer lays off 97 Eidos employees and cancels the new Deus Ex game. Yeah. Didn't see that one coming. I hate it when this kind of thing happens, though, because it's just free up the intellectual property. Give it to some of the employed people to see if they can make an indie gem out of the IP. I mean, come on.
I would never
No,
do that.
they'll never know. They got to make money off it.
But that would be better for humanity.
They're going to try to sell it off.
The irony is I think they would probably make more on their IP.
Not if they don't own it.
Now, if you remember, I guess it was last year sometime, there was a lot of argument in the government. They didn't want Amazon to buy iRobot, and the argument was it's because they didn't want iRobot mapping all of our homes. I guess that was a compelling enough argument.
Amazon terminates their iRobot deal, Roomba maker to lay off 31% of its staff.
So it's either Amazon buys this or you're all fired.
Well, it was probably you're all fired either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One was just going to be after the acquisition.
Yeah, Amazon learned. I mean, this is pretty good props to Amazon here. They learned not to try to, strong arm them into downsizing or getting rid of people. It's okay, we'll keep giving you money so that it doesn't look like we're firing everybody for the acquisition.
Here's what I consider to be good news. I wish this was because people were more aware of what this is and how intrusive it is. Instead, I think it's just an extra cost that no one can bear in these dark times.
23andMe has lost billions, now is almost worthless.
There are people who do this with their dogs, too, which blows my mind.
And partly because of the security issues, because they lost everything, and partly because, why? It's the tulip bulb mania of, tell me what my genetic material tells you, is fading.
And over at Google, they have an army of people whose job is to try and improve search results. Now, obviously, that's been a failure because search results have gotten worse and worse and worse. And I guess it's bad enough now that Google's like, this is not going to work.
Google seemingly embraces AI dogfooding with gusto, cancels a huge contract which could see thousands of quality rater jobs terminated and change SEO forever. So this makes it seem like, the humans weren't performing the way that we expected. We're going to get rid of them. But it already feels like that they were fired people walking because the AI or the search results are all just terrible.
Business Insider has the most brutal paywall.
It's worse than Wired.
You got this one?
Yeah. Jack Dorsey's block lays off a whole bunch of staffers.
That's all you need to know. There was more layoffs.
Yeah.
I like how Jack Dorsey is motivated to I'm going to build the ultimate Twitter replacement, and then the universe hands him the ultimate okay, we'll help you bootstrap your Twitter replacement.
Bootstrapping.
by having Elon Musk buy Twitter and run it into the ground, and Jack Dorsey still manages not to launch a reasonable Twitter competitor. The universe blessed him twice, and still.
The universe took care of an idiot. He didn't take advantage.
And when it comes to all of this failure, obviously, if you're a high-level manager or, a CEO or something, you need an explanation. And it seems like the scapegoat is those pesky remote workers.
Move near office or leave. IBM issues a final warning to managers working remotely. They're going to use the badge in data to assess individual presence.
They're going to give you a pay raise to live closer to the office, right?
They didn't mention that.
That's weird.
So you can afford to live in the city that the office is in, right?
And AI obviously is a big part of this. I mean, they wouldn't be letting all those people go if they didn't feel like they could just replace them with an API. But it turns out that even the companies that do that are not immune.
The uncomfortable truth about AI's impact on the workforce is playing out already inside the big companies themselves. Like Google saying, wow, we can just replace all of this with AI. Amazon laying off a huge amount of the Alexa team because the Alexa team didn't figure out large language models before those randos at OpenAI.
There's a quote in here. But it's so funny how they've done a complete 180 on the whole like AI isn't going to take jobs thing. Now
It's not even been a year. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah.
Instead of that, now it's like, well, of course AI is going to take jobs. Who said it wouldn't?
You, asshole.
How amazing is it going to be when the feds assign an AI handler to you for, your homelessness or whatever social net that you're facing, and that's the thing, like your AI thing is following you around, and it's like, now Bob, I don't think we should buy 17 cases of laundry detergent in order to launder it into money.
Shut up, AI.
But imagine a scenario where I had really, really dirty clothes. And then how many things of laundry detergent would I need?
Hey, it's got a long shelf life, right? And you would think that with everything that we just talked about, these companies must be really suffering, right? Like they must be bleeding money.
Of course.
But it's the weirdest thing.
Tech layoffs balloon in January as Wall Street rally lifts Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft to records. Well, listen, the people at Wall Street have no clue. I love the old Jeff Bezos quote when Amazon was coming up, which was, "I'm okay with being misunderstood for a long time." Because the Wall Street analysts would always come out and be like, "It doesn't make any sense why a bookstore is building data centers. I don't see how they're ever going to have a return on this." And it was just like, okay.
But Wall Street loves firings.
And they love when the R&D stops, and they love when things like the venture capital, the private equity thing happened with Sears, which is a death knell for companies. Like Wall Street likes companies doing bad things for immediate gains.
Because they're going to get out.
Yeah.
Because it's not really investment, it's speculation.
This is the one I was thinking of earlier. I
Yeah.
got them mixed up in my head.
This was,
It was Thursday night.
yeah, so we're looking at last month's data, not necessarily what has just happened.
January hiring was the lowest for a month on record as layoffs surged. Yeah, this is not looking great.
I don't know, though, because the payroll numbers today were just so good.
The payroll numbers were so good today because everybody's working 2 jobs to make ends meet, and sleep is for the weak.
I doubt that's even it. They're going to revise that lower. Level 1 predicts revision lower.
Level 1 predicts that they're going to say that the numbers for November and December was 20,000 higher than it was supposed to be, or lower? No, higher. And then they're going to take those 20,000 jobs and then apply them in January. It's just going to be a constant game of like, oh, the numbers were wrong in February of 1973. We're going to take those and add them today.
And I think that will probably all come crashing to the halt around like January 25th, 2025, depending on one Boolean value. Now, you might be thinking, well, yeah, we're losing all these jobs, but don't worry, right? Because we've got the manufacturing resurrection of America. It's coming, right? Because we've put all this infrastructure, all these tax dollars into all this. That's going to save us.
Reuters headline is Intel delays its $20 billion Ohio project, citing slow chip market, according to the Wall Street Journal. That is factually incorrect. Another level 1 thing here. They have delayed their project because they don't have their chips money yet. And I actually had to dig for a while to figure out if Intel said that they got their chips money or not. Ultimately, listening to a call where they were like, some investor was like, "Hey, I was like, oh yeah, that's on track." They can't say that, I think, that they don't have their chips money, but they don't have their chips money.
Check hasn't cleared.
Yeah, basically. But also a lot of other companies are delaying production. Like we're going to see flash memory prices go way up because production is way down because weak sales. So it's not just Intel; it's a lot of stuff. So this is not like, some sort of Machiavellian thing.
This was definitely a missort. It should have been in the government section.
Oh,
but
no.
It could have been in social media.
It kind of applies.
Which also isn't here.
Yeah, software.
Senate tells social media CEOs that they, quote unquote, have their blood on their hands for failing to protect the children. This is the aforementioned dog and pony show that I alluded to in the last episode. This was not there wasn't anything useful here. At one point, they asked Mark Zuckerberg to stand up and look at all the people that he's wronged and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't.
No, it was useful.
It's great for a soundbite.
Well, not only that, but to get that Kids Online Safety Act pushed through. That was the real purpose of it.
But when they're doing that to try to get it pushed through, they know that it's subpar.
And here's a little knock-on effect to manufacturing, just cratering in the United States. Cottage industries also have to go out of business.
A tough break for rugged phone fans as the key manufacturer of it shuts down. Bullet Group employees are reporting company-wide layoffs. Yeah. Maybe this will be an opportunity for Framework to make their manufacturer a repairable cell phone. That'd be neat.
And you might also be thinking, hey, none of this affects me because I actually had a ton of money in FTX and I'm going to get that back. They're going to bring that back.
I don't think anyone thinks like
line
that.
is going to continue to go up because I've put everything into it.
The headline from The Guardian was FTX scraps plans to revive exchange and will repay billions to customers.
Which will be billions less than the customers put in.
I heard about this, but in my head, I formatted it as a 4chan green text. And so I did not think it was actually serious. And then the Guardian headline was like, wait, what? That was real? I didn't think that was real. I thought that was just, I didn't think that was real.
How much money did they burn in legal fees just to get to the point where it's like, nah, we can't save it?
Probably like $5 million.
I bet they've been having really nice steak dinners.
Yeah.
Well, there was a deluge. I think every major online news site had an Apple Vision Pro review.
Embargo was up.
And I just chose one at random.
This one was pretty good.
Apple Vision Pro review. It's magic until it's not. That is a good way to summarize.
The cons were that it was heavy, which we already knew, but a lot of people were saying too, the eye tracking and the actual ability to manipulate things was not great. It was a little frustrating to use.
They also point out that Apple really wants you to just wear this at all times, which seems really unrealistic. One of my favorite parts of the ads and stuff, somebody was doing laundry in one. What?
I have my favorite thing that I've seen so far. It was someone that was vacuuming their floor, and it was an augmented reality game where they were getting the coins.
It's like my mom when we played Super Mario Galaxy. So we played it on the Wii, and my mom was like the little brother with the other controller, and all she'd do is just wave around to get the coins and stuff off of it. She was so excited. Yeah, it was that was like my mom's favorite game we ever played together because she could just.
I mean, this was a guy who was literally vacuuming, and in augmented reality, it was showing him everywhere of his floor that he had not cleaned. And so I was like, oh, I can get another 500 coins if I sweep this area over here.
See, my mom would get mad because I would try to move on from an area, and she'd be like, I didn't get all the coins yet. Turn around, go back. And then people like vacuuming like that.
I didn't do it consistently, but I have played Power Wash Simulator.
I also saw I don't know if
played this for cleanup detail too.
I don't know if it's real or not, but somebody was playing the piano, and it was like a Guitar Hero style interface to a real piano with augmented reality. It was like, well, you can learn to play the piano that way. There might be something to that.
That would be cool. Yeah. And you can pour one out for some old technology, which is no longer officially supported.
Apple declares the last MacBook Pro with an optical drive obsolete. It's not going to get any more updates. This is an Intel Mac from a decade ago. That's impressive.
Hasn't even been for sale for 7 years.
You got any in the trash pile downstairs? You got any external USB CDR drives?
Maybe like one or two, maybe. That might be questionable.
I want CDs in my truck, but I don't want to spend $20. And
I've got drives if you want to put one internally.
That's like too much of a commitment. Really.
Well, the notebook ones don't burn so good.
But here's an impressive thing, and even though this is a little bit pricier or a lot pricier, if you're one of these people who's been affected by the collapse section, you're looking to save a little cash, the gaming world is getting pretty good about optimizing for this kind of thing.
PC games in. AMD's new CPU hits 132 FPS in Fortnite without a graphics card. We did a review. If you're willing to buy the trash tier GPU from last gen, you can spend about the same money and get a better gaming performance, but otherwise, this is the fastest, best GPU built into a CPU that you can get by quite a wide margin. It's almost as good as 2 generations ago discrete GPUs.
Well, the ISPs are notorious for labeling their plans in ways that are untrue. Remember AT&T?
Yeah.
They had
Just straight up wrong.
The 4G plus.
Literal lies.
And everybody was like, what is the plus? And they're like, oh, it doesn't mean
We just wanted to add that to make you ask questions. Okay.
And they are not alone.
Comcast reluctantly agrees to stop misleading 10G network claims. Remember when we first reported on this? Remember when we said it was lies?
It's officially lies.
It's officially lies.
And one of the big stories out of the pandemic was poor little Raspberry Pi. Their manufacturing just ground to a halt. People still wanted their products, but they couldn't get them. And that insane demand may have fueled some of this.
Raspberry Pi is planning a London IPO, but its CEO expects, quote unquote, no change in focus.
And in other words, pour one out for Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, a lot of hobbyists are dubious of Raspberry Pi's future.
Has that ever done anything good for...
At that point, line has to start going up.
See, it's really weird, though, because like the cost of mini PCs, like, okay, Raspberry Pi with all the accessories, blah, 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 like $100. You can get a reasonable mini PC for $100 now, too.
And if you want to take that mini PC on the road, maybe with your van life, you might have some new options on how to get your Wi-Fi.
HaLow Wi-Fi standard achieves a 1.8 mile range in a field test. Now, this is 900 megahertz. This is very extremely low bandwidth, but this is designed for everywhere coverage. The article mentions outdoor cameras that don't have to be wired. That would be the dumbest use ever of this type of Wi-Fi, because cameras, even highly compressed video, is still going to take a lot of bandwidth.
Maybe you want to skip a generation, go straight to this. Put some lasers on your house.
Starlink's laser system is beaming 42 million gigabytes of data per day. This is really awesome. We reported on this when the newer satellites were going up, or they were getting this figured out or whatever. But each of the satellites can communicate with each of the other ones via laser instead of radio waves, which is slightly better for latency, but also insanely way more bandwidth because it doesn't interfere with, like, one satellite doesn't interfere with another one because it has to point the laser at it.
And it's a mesh configuration. They said they had 7 different paths to get to the Arctic.
Fabulous.
Maybe not as fabulous, but let's hope for the best.
Has there been an update on this? Because the first time I saw it was earlier this week.
There's probably some HIPAA stuff here, so we only get to know whatever this dude wants us to know, which is probably the way it should be. But let's just cross our fingers, hope the news is good here.
Reuters headline is Elon Musk's Neuralink implants brain chip in their first human trial. The first thing they said was, kill me.
The ads. Make the ads stop. The pop-ups.
The idea here is, I assume this person is completely paralyzed, and they will be able to interact with a mouse cursor through the Neuralink. I suppose there's probably some swelling and stuff in the early days that you have to wait to get some readings.
Hopefully it's good news, but
hopefully it's better than the monkeys.
Yeah.
But the big story about Mr. Musk this week was not that. It was that as he marches toward trillionaire status, he has stumbled a bit.
Elon Musk's $56 billion Tesla pay package is too much, a judge has ruled. Why? Well, some of the activist investors in Tesla said that the lawyer that said that this pay package was okay or got this approved on behalf of the shareholders had also worked for Elon Musk during one of his divorces, and that was maybe a conflict of interest.
Now, the thing about this is not that he just got paid $56 billion. The way it was laid out is that if Tesla sells this many cars, hits this market cap, blah, 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 there were all these milestones. He blew through every single one of them. So he got the max payment, which is an obscene amount of money. He has claimed that he will now summon the shareholders and vote to immediately disincorporate in Delaware and move to Texas.
Wow.
Why was he incorporated in Delaware in the first place? Well, you should look into that and how the business world is just all fakery. And Blackstone, they're not supposed to be in the computing world. Are they taking over another industry? Yes, the answer is yes.
Blackstone to build 60 football field-sized data centers worth $25 billion. It turns out that if you got a lot of data flowing through your data center, you can get paid a lot of money from governments to have some systems in those data centers just watching, just seeing what's up.
Weren't they planning on doing this in Massachusetts and now it's saying Arizona?
Yeah.
Well, QTS is a company that already had a bunch of data centers, and they've acquired them. And so they're going to take over all those, but they're going to build more, too. So they're thinking, as we go into the AI revolution, they want to be the landlords, basically. What could go wrong? And if you are looking to have a little bit more convenient internal networking, good news from ICANN.
ICANN proposes creating .internal domain to do the same job as 192.168.xx. This is kind of unofficial. It's sort of been this way for a long time, but they want to actually standardize this on being, hey, no one can ever buy .internal. That's just madness.
But it'd be more convenient with IPv6 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there a no thanks? There we go.
it is. And if you had sleep apnea, you might have to wear one of those horrible invasive masks. They seem awful. But what you might not have known was that there was some sound dampening foam that was being introduced into your lungs the entire time.
Amid the recall crisis, Philips agrees to stop selling sleep apnea machines in the United States. It turns out that it has to get the air from somewhere, and when it gets the air from the box, it's right next to where it's got sound dampening material for the motor, which you just breathe.
And you run that thing every night for hours and hours and hours. And all those vibrations over time turns the sound dampening material into powders and microplastics.
Those are good for your lungs, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Philips is going to keep selling this in other countries. It's going to be like the x-ray machines that would fry people because of no safeties.
What about the batteries that would fry people? Because they're out there lurking in your home and you have to give them back.
Snap is recalling and refunding every drone it had ever sold. These little mini selfie cameras, because the battery can't wait to catch on fire.
The battery's not its own thing.
But the battery is replaceable in these units. However, Snap, this was a terrible idea. They don't want anything to do with it anymore. They're saying just give it back. We're going to refund your money. Which is probably good because I'm sure everybody who bought that was like, I wish I hadn't bought this.
Well, they used it once and then it's been in the closet, right, waiting to catch their whole house on fire.
And this is not surprising because I imagine as many of you have been laid off, you've canceled some subscriptions, and yet you still have a lot of time on your hands. So you want to do some streaming. What could the solution be?
Hulu is cracking down on password sharing, just like Disney Plus and Netflix.
Hulu was already pretty bad about, I mean, I guess they're all doing ads now, but Hulu always had ads for like the lower tiers, which I never understood.
They
why
were
you'd pay
kind of
for.
the like cheapest,
Yeah.
lowest tier option.
Hulu has gotten wise to the download utility that you could just feed it a URL. I must reacquire my Always Sunny.
They didn't give any exact details, kind of like Netflix did when they first started doing this, but I imagine it'll be pretty much the same thing. And if you are one of the few people who deals with ads on YouTube, not by escalating the ad block war, but actually paying them, you're not alone.
Google One is about to hit 100 million subscribers. Yep.
When I first read this headline last night, I thought it said just hit 100, and I was like, okay.
Weird press release.
Yeah.
Over in China, they are losing the AI war, and they are hyper aware of it. Like we said earlier, they're approving new models. They're really trying to prod their companies into doing more, but they're so behind the curve, and their CEOs don't mince words.
ByteDance's CEO is mad at his employees for missing the AI wave. He's the latest Chinese tech executive to fret about being too slow to adapt.
Wouldn't that be his job to set the course?
Yeah.
I mean, do you really expect... What if some little, mailroom employee had walked up to him and been like, excuse me, sir, AI is the future and what you're doing is wrong?
I figured out this large language model thing. Come take a look. And it's just like, what do you do? No, go back to the mailroom.
He probably would have physically hit him.
Oh, yeah.
No cake in the conference room for you.
Yeah.
And VMware continues to face backlash for its horribly anti-consumer, anti-customer behavior.
Dell kills its sweetheart distribution deal with Broadcom's VMware. Yeah, it's real dark times if you were a small or medium business with VMware and you did the VMware training and you had all the VMware products and you weren't the highest tier customer. Things are bad. Things are real bad.
Well, things aren't bad over at Microsoft Gaming because if you recall, when they promised that they wouldn't raise prices and they wouldn't lay people off, they were able to acquire Activision. And then, if I recall correctly, they raised prices and laid people off.
Microsoft's gaming revenue was up 49% in Q2, mostly thanks to the Activision deal.
Line went up.
It did. And, oh, you know what? We got another story about that. I won't even mention it. Microsoft, however, is not satisfied with that because over on the OS side of things, they're continuing to, it seems like, try to find the most annoying thing that they can do and add it to the code base.
Microsoft stole my Chrome tabs, and it wants yours too. So this is something that some people are noticing, that after the machine updates, the browser reopens, but they had Chrome open, but now Edge reopens, and it looks like Chrome, and it's got all the same tabs open in the same order as Chrome, but it's not Chrome.
But no one gave it permission to go look at Chrome's tabs.
That's weird. Because you get the pop-up when you first set up Edge, and it's like, help make it more useful to you. Bring over my stuff. You should sign in.
See, I've told it not to bring in bookmarks. And
Yeah,
I
do too. I have to tell it no like 50 times when I'm installing stuff.
It's like my cats.
Yeah.
They don't care.
You have to tell it no over and over. It does it anyway.
At this point, running Linux in a VM, or Windows in a VM under Linux, even without full GPU acceleration, is basically fine.
Well, if you want to go even further back in time to surprisingly less horrible versions of Windows, there is still a career out there for you.
MS-DOS and Windows 3.11 still run train dashboards at German Railway. The company listed an admin job for a 30-year-old operating system.
It's probably older than a lot of applicants.
Basically, if you have experience with these, that's a plus. It was a simpler time.
Job security, not going to be great there.
No.
Now, we know that Google has failed at the browser game, and now they're firing everyone and putting AI in there. So it could possibly get worse going forward. What's the alternative?
Arc Search combines browser search engine and AI into something new and different. From The Verge.
This is a paid article.
So, Browse for me, you literally give it something that you want to know about. The editor here used the football championship game, and it will literally go out, read a bunch of articles for you, and summarize it, and give it back to you. And he didn't ask, but it went ahead and gave him information about Taylor Swift.
Well, because you obviously want that.
I mean, she's a big part of that story now. Can Taylor Swift's beauty and love propel a man into the Super Bowl win? We're going to find out. And you might have found out something horrible. This was January 29 when this happened, when you woke up and you decided to stream a little Amazon.
Amazon Prime Video ads start from today, up to 3.5 minutes per hour.
Thunderstorm noises to fall asleep to, my beloved.
Is that on Prime?
Yeah, they have a bunch of them. I used to listen to them a lot to go to bed, and I won't be able to do that now because the ads will wake you up.
What's the traditional time per hour for old cable? Probably
About
more, right?
20 minutes at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And Netflix, so a lot of these companies, we always talk about how the companies are most honest when they do their financial statements. And one of the things about your financial statements is you have to put hey, here's some things that we've considered that might actually be very bad for us going forward. It's fine now, but who knows in the future? And they've added a new one.
Netflix adds generative AI to competitive risk factors in its annual report. Yeah, I mean, what if you could just sit down at a chat GPT prompt and say, I want you to reimagine the story from The Lord of the Rings, but all the characters are Danny DeVito. Let's make that 2 hours. Go. And then you just start watching.
Wow, it's really going to have to compress.
There's just going to be a lot of plot points if you hear rustling in the bushes.
We heard rustling in the bushes. That's Sauron. What's going on?
No, it's the thinking fox.
And we've heard about, obviously, Apple is making concessions in the EU because they lost, and now they have to do all this stuff. The big story, of course, was the App Store, but that wasn't the only one. Also, the WebKit browsers is a big thing because if you play on Apple's ecosystem, you have to use the WebKit that they tell you that you have to use. Not anymore. However,
Mozilla says Apple's new browser rules are, quote unquote, as painful as possible for Firefox. So this is the preview of what it looks like from a software development standpoint to develop a browser like Firefox on iOS. And you have Mozilla saying this is terrible. And if you look into what is terrible about it, it is insane. So like us in America, it's like we would like to sideload Firefox and do some debugging of Firefox. Well, guess what? In our region, we can't do that. Firefox here runs a Safari rendering engine. We can't. So how do we debug it? How does the web browser behaves two different ways depending on which set of GPS coordinates you have? That seems like a problem for software developers.
and as Firefox points out, it doesn't change the fact that they have to have two different branches. Like they still have to do that because now there's an EU branch and an everywhere else in the world branch.
Can I just run my application on the hardware? Like you don't have two different versions of the hardware. Not really. I have two different radios, but it's not like, oh, here's the M1 chip for EU and here's the M1 chip for whatever. Even Intel, when they had to do the export crypto regulations, and they had more crypto extensions and less crypto extensions in the processor. It was still the same processor. They just turned a bit, and that was it.
Maybe you're tuning all this out. Maybe you're putting all of your extra time into something that it seems everybody else is as well, because these numbers are insane.
Pal World isn't slowing down. Hits 19 million players across Steam and Xbox. It is a really interesting balance of the genres that it borrows from.
It's interesting that we've got, maybe around 10 hours in it right now, and all these, really, everybody's got guns, dystopian screenshots. We haven't seen that
No,
yet.
I've just been exploring the wilderness almost exclusively.
It also looks like they're running a little bit of a sweatshop there.
My other favorite image is the sheep with the guns that I see in a lot of articles. That's funny.
I did unlock, last time we played, I unlocked the cages. There's display cages that you can put your pals.
Displays. Oh. They're go-go dancers for the pals.
And just a smattering of social media, and it's all about the big congressional hearings that we always get great sound bites from.
The Ars Technica headline is Zuckerberg says sorry for meta harming kids, but we're not going to give payments to families.
You know his lawyer was screaming, you never say sorry.
Yeah, that was a terrible move. And to be fair, I mean, as horrible as Mark Zuckerberg is, and as much as his addictive algorithm is killing children, it's the parents. They must control it.
I really don't like him. I don't think he deserved what he got with the congressional hearing, but okay.
Also the strategy here, go back to that tab and look at him. So in his last congressional hearing, he had that really severe cut. They're trying to make him look more sympathetic by making his hair kind of tousled.
Oh, okay.
Like he's really losing sleep over it.
The makeup job there looks amazing. He's gotten some new, more human-like skin.
Yeah.
And I suppose we all have some
Desire to scream into the void.
well, not just that, but we trust what we have in our childhood, right?
Yeah.
And this is a character who we feel like maybe we can still talk to and tell our problems to. And oh boy, did people tell their problems.
The headline is Elmo responds to outpouring of angst on social media.
Everyone just kind of trauma dumped on a puppet.
Yeah,
this week.
There was a post, quote unquote, from Elmo. It was just like, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" And people would respond like, "Elmo, I'm not going to make it."
Yeah, it was really dark. Some of them were really dark.
But true.
Yeah, we're killing the bees, Elmo.
Also, one of Biden's accounts tried to get on that, and everybody was like, "Oh, how could Joe Biden be so stupid?" And so it's like Joe Biden had no idea that happened.
Well, to be fair, it is part of PBS. He had to put out another thing that was mental health awareness, and it's like, oh, poor Elmo, or the person who lives inside Elmo.
And maybe the darkest social media event, that actually probably not even, right?
Yeah.
The darkest one we heard about this week was on YouTube.
Beheading video posted on this platform prompts response from social media platform, the same one.
It took hours for them to get to it. I'd like to remind you that sometimes we post videos and they're immediately taken down.
Yeah, it's weird how we can't just talk about stuff and then... Okay.
If we say certain words, it's just immediately demonetized. This guy held up a human head.
It's just absurd.
But they also it got onto Twitter at some point as well, so everybody's banging the drum of like they're not doing enough. They need to be controlled.
Please no.
I mean, they did take it down, but you can't expect them to know instantly.
How much more controlled can YouTube be?
When there are more things like that, we suffer.
Your tiny creators suffer.
I mean, to be sure, that guy's dad also suffered.
Yeah, no one's saying I need to see more beheading content, but
I bet there are some people out there who are saying that.
Those kind of links stay blue for me. I don't want to ever see that.
Yeah, I didn't try to find that.
We have so much nonsense on Friday. So much.
Yes. That'll make things better. A little bit. We'll see you then.
I sure hope so. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye.